This is the Meaning Business Podcast, your go-to source for business tips, advice, growth, and exit strategies, hosted by Bruce Kudry and Peter Spinder. Each episode, we bring you real stories, expert insights, and practical advice to help you succeed in today's market. Let's dive in.
I signed up to ChatGPT Premium,
Oh, yeah.
$300 a month.
You're right. Much different?
Wow.
Hey,
Wow.
you have to show me how to do images. Can you do?
Yeah.
Can
I'll
you
have
just
to
do it on normal chat GPT?
You can, but GPT's crap for it.
Yeah.
So we've now finally worked out a structure. And that's why I sent that email to Charmaine yesterday
How
to
did you
go,
say?
okay.
Okay.
I was just asking, so are we still paying for stock images? Because I've got something that will pretty much get rid of stock images.
Yeah,
The
okay.
quality that we're now getting out of it, Bruce, is almost you can't tell the difference between
I've
a
seen
photograph.
I've seen the few where I'm like, that's
No, we're talking
really?
proper,
Okay.
hyper realistic. I'll show you some.
Yeah.
And some are just like, whoa, that's
Okay. I was at trivia on Tuesday night. They put up, name the person, and we got 9 out of 10, which isn't bad. The one we couldn't get is Anna de Armas. Have you heard of her, Jane?
no, darns. No.
Anna de Armas. She's some actress, beautiful girl. Anyway, the second one was Lewis Hamilton. Everyone gets Lewis Hamilton, right? And the guy Bailey who does it later was saying all those images were AI. I'm like, no way. That was Lewis Hamilton. I've seen that situation where that photo was taken.
Yeah.
No, that's AI. It's amazing.
But the new GPT is just mind-blowing.
Okay.
Mind-blowing.
How come you didn't go with Perplexity or
Well, I've
Claude
got all of them.
Premium?
Yeah, I've got
Okay.
I pay for all of them. And we do that because we need it now in the business of what we're doing,
Yeah.
especially research.
Yeah. All right. Are we ready to go?
Let's rock and roll.
Okay. This is Meaning Business, and I'm Bruce Kudry.
And my name's Peter Spinder. Welcome.
Welcome. So, Pete, who's the boss at your house?
I love the open-ended, loaded question. Kitty, if you're listening, close your ears.
I don't think she listens, so don't worry.
That probably doesn't. Who listens to this?
Not my wife.
Look, that's a really good question. And I would have to say in our family, we have an almost a semi-unanimous decision-making process. We're all involved in making decisions to an extent. But then, dad wields the wand and then mum wields the wand. And I think we've got a very good relationship in that sense.
Okay.
Hopefully I answered that the right way, honey.
Like I said, she's not listening. But in my house, so it could be me, my wife, any of my children.
Yep.
It could be my wife's father.
Actually, hang on. You missed out on your grandkids.
Coming to that.
Okay.
Coming to that. Could be my mother,
Yep.
who is still alive at 92. Or it could be the grandkids. And if you watched our family when everyone's there, the one that gets what they want and tells everyone else what to do is the grandkids. They're literally sitting at the table like, what do you want to eat now? Where do you want to go? Oh, Charlie wants to go and play outside. Everyone's up outside,
Well, I saw what happened this morning. You were up on YouTube and Alfie's like, I want this video. I want that video. I want that video. Of course, granddad.
Only 5 minutes. That's right.
Yeah. Gotta love them.
So who is the boss?
Yeah,
It could be many people, right?
Absolutely.
It's your house.
Yeah. And there's, I think the word, personally, I don't like the word boss because it's very archaic. It's very masculine.
Draconian.
It's draconian. It's come out of the military. So I like to think of it more as a decision maker. Sometimes we need decision makers, someone to make that decision, like a leader, if we're talking about a business, or someone who's just got some particular knowledge or skills in some area where they really should be the one that should be making the most contribution, or listen to everyone. But what about in business? I mean, we often hear this whole mantra, customer's always right. Customer comes first. Customer this, the customer that.
Yeah.
Or you hear the other mantra, which is, I'm the shareholder, so you bow down before me sort of situation.
Right.
So who is the boss?
Or you get the situation where quite often the boss is saying to the staff, listen, guys, it's my money on the line here.
Yep.
Without my money, we don't have a business.
Yep.
So it's all, you do what I say,
I'm the boss.
I'm the boss.
So I've got a short list here. So So who's the boss if we look at it from a business point of view? Is it you, the business owner? So like you just said, you're the one taking the risk. In most instances, you've got the house online. It might be an offset
Your
account.
name on a sign.
That's it. Your reputation. So does that mean you're the boss?
Well, it certainly means that the buck stops with that person. It means that when it all turns pear-shaped, it's on their head.
Yep.
And quite often, if it goes well, you're Richard Branson, you cop the kudos and you're lauded as a hero. But to be frank, Richard Branson or any other business owner can't get what they get done without investors and staff and customers.
All the people around them.
So who's most important? And let's look at the other components, right? So you've got the owner.
Yep. What about, so we've got here suppliers. So without suppliers, they have a direct impact on the business. They can dictate pricing, they can dictate supply, they can dictate so many things. And it's not just product suppliers, it could be service suppliers, contractors.
Yep.
So are they the boss?
Exactly. Well, if you distributed a product in Australia that was a really well-known, famous product, I don't know, let's say it's Rolex watches.
Yep.
And you've got the distribution rights to Rolex watches in Australia.
Yep.
Who really is in charge? Whose business is it? If Rolex decides they don't want you as a supplier, retailer anymore, or a wholesaler, you've got no business.
That's it.
And if they tell you the price is going up, the price is going down, or they're changing the range to all black, you just got to cop it, right?
Absolutely.
So
I felt this in the first business that I started. I didn't realize the importance of supplier relationships. I didn't build the
a
relationships.
lot of people don't think about it.
And then when the proverbial hit the fan and we had some issues, supply issues, because we were so successful in selling so much, they all turned around and said, sorry, we can't help you.
Yep.
Now, then I found out that they were helping other customers of theirs. So, yeah, supplies can be quite important.
So just jump on that, just one more thing.
Yep.
So if you're making fuel, petrol, and you don't have crude oil, you're making ethanol, you don't have feedstock for the thing, you've got no business.
Yep.
If you're in construction, you can't get concrete, you're screwed. So it doesn't matter how much money you're making or how good your staff are or your customers are. If you can't get supply of product, no business.
No business. So maybe they're the boss. But what about the shareholders then? So you go, okay, well, I'm giving you money. I'm investing money. So it's my money on the line. Maybe you've got a business where you've got multiple partners where contributed money. And so they could rightly turn around and say, well, I'm the boss because I'm the one giving you the money. You do what I tell you to do. So are they the boss?
Well, just want to dwell on that for a sec too, because in my life, I've been lucky enough to go to quite a few shareholder meetings in public companies, and they are hilarious. If you get the chance, you've got to go, because there's some really, clever people who have invested their life savings in companies, and they really understand exactly what, that company that they're investing is doing.
Yep.
So they really hold the board accountable, and they get up in these meetings. They've usually got a bit of paper rolled up in their hand, and they're no. What are you doing about such and such? You don't even know what's going on. I can tell you.
Yeah.
And they do. They know what's going on. And they think that they believe, and I'm not saying they're wrong, but they believe that it's their money invested in that company and that company is working for them to give them a return.
You can see that perspective.
Absolutely. Well, the other part of it is, Elon Musk or any big company couldn't operate without shareholders and investors. It would not exist.
Absolutely. I mean, Warren Buffett, if we look at probably the world's greatest investor, and by many ways of thinking, I mean, he's got people, he's got the shareholders. Yep. Without them, there's nothing. So 100%. Ultimately, you got to weigh that up and go, okay, well, who really is the boss in that situation?
Yeah. I mean, let's imagine you own a business and Warren Buffett says, I want to invest in your company. You'd be pretty happy.
Absolutely.
And if he told you that he thinks you should invest in something in Vietnam or cut your staff back or expand, you'd probably listen.
You probably would. So then the question is, well, would you go against him? If he's the majority shareholder, for example, a big investor or a powerful person.
Is he the boss?
Is he the boss?
Yeah.
That's it. So then we go to the next one, which is the customers. So without customers, we don't have a business. No one's going to come to us. Customers always right. So are they the boss? Seeing as that without them, they're controlling demand, they're controlling what happens, whether they're going to buy the coffee from you today or from, someone else down the street.
Yeah.
Are they the boss? What do you think?
Well, they definitely there's a hierarchy here and they have a very high position. Without them, we definitely don't survive. In fact, most businesses, most people know this, but if you are at a certain level of revenue or capacity, below that, you're losing money. At this point, you break even, and above that, you make money. So you have to have a certain amount of customers just to break even, and every one above that is where your profit sits. So customers, very, very important.
And the challenge, sorry to cut you off, but the challenge with that is that if you run a model where you're churning your customers and you're only focusing on bringing in new customers and you're not focusing on building relationships, you're always going to be forever just struggling to actually move forward with momentum because you haven't taken the time.
And I'll just play on that for a second too. So I feel that in many ways, real estate agents are involved in customer churn. They just get the numbers, put them through, and someone will make an offer, and they'll make an offer, and they'll buy it, and then that's it. But the really good real estate agents, in my opinion, have sticky customers who love them and they work with. So when a property comes on the market, they go back to their customer base and say, hey, Pete, I've got a new property coming in the market. I think you should have a look at it. And that's different to churn. So customers are definitely important, and we should treat them like royalty, and we should work with them and have a relationship. But maybe they're more of an equal than a boss.
That's an interesting one. Now, what about the last one that I've got on my list? What about the people in the business? What about Mary or Bob, who's the admin person at the front, greeting customers into your business? What about the barista that's actually making the coffee in your coffee business or your restaurant, your chef at the back of house, or the sommelier at the front? What about those people? What about staff? Where do they fit in? Are they the boss?
Well, this is where, sorry, just breathe on the microphone there. Well,
you're doing a Darth Vader impression. Look, I am your father.
That's about as far as it's going to go. I think staff should be the most important person. So, and I guess this is why we wanted to talk about it, because, there are different points of view. Shareholders think they're the most important. Customers think they're the most important. Business owners very frequently think, it's my money, my investment. I've got it all on the line here. I'm most important. And I see a lot of business owners who, out of the revenue the business makes, they pay themselves first and others last. And because they're the most important. But really, in my observation, the most successful companies are the ones that value the staff and treat the staff as rightly they should, which is that they're the most important, or because it's like a hierarchy. There are exceptions, but generally, if you make the staff the most important, that doesn't mean you pay them the most. That doesn't mean you give them control.
No. It's not about money or control.
No.
It's about enablement.
Yes, and appreciation, I think, and understanding that we're working together, just like the customer is an equal to us.
That's right.
But as a business owner, you really should pay yourself last. So it should be something like suppliers first, landlords second, staff right up there. All the other bills, put some money aside for things that are going to go wrong and break and replacements, and, a rainy day. Lastly, you get paid.
Pay yourself.
Not first, not second.
It's interesting because that also goes against some of the management theory out there that says pay yourself first, or some of this positive self-belief. And some of these business coaches out there going, oh, no, you got to pay yourself first. Well, yeah, you do need to pay yourself because you're going to make money out of your business. Otherwise, what's the point? But the big but is you need to look after everyone else first. And that's the reality. And if we think about it, and we were talking about this before, if you're look at the hospital, for example, okay, and the question is, well, who's
most important
in the hospital? We know that the hospital is built centered around patient. It's around care. But if we really analyze it and dig deep, and this is my personal thoughts, I think one of the most primary critical roles in any hospital isn't the doctor, isn't the nurse, but in fact, it's the CSSD department. It's the department that sterilizes the equipment. It's the cleaning department that ensures that things are kept clean throughout the hospital, in the toilets, whether it be in the operating theater, it's the equipment, it's making sure, because it's those little decisions, those little things that will determine whether or not you have an infection outbreak, for example, or you have something else. So I guess it's not to say that doctors aren't important or nurses aren't, but they're all critical.
Or patients.
The point is that what we are, and actually I've got an analogy, right? I love aquariums and I love aquascaping. And whenever I start a fresh aquarium. What I try and do is develop a holistic ecosystem where I actually don't need to clean it, where everything just thrives and
Looks after.
survives and looks after itself. So I should share, actually, Jay, I'll take a photograph of my son's little aquarium at the moment. It is beautiful. It is thriving. We do not need to clean it at all. What we've done is we've got a balance where, yes, the fish are important and the plants are important and the rocks in the way and everything's important. But you know what we've done? We've looked after the microbes. We've looked after the bacteria that are actually eating and surviving and thriving off of the excrement from the fish of the things that they release. And then as a result, they're fertilizing the plants. And as a result, the plants are healthy. And as a result, the fish are healthy. So you could look at, business as an ecosystem, or a hospital is an ecosystem where, in fact, there is no boss. It's a circular economy where we've got to look after the customers.
All the component parts.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so the answer is that we should actually look at our business and go, you know what? This isn't about me versus everyone else because I'm the boss, me versus the customers, et cetera, et cetera. It's about, well, how do we collaborate together as a community and have fun? Let's have fun with our staff. Let's enable our staff so they want to come to work and they go home happy. And there's always stress. I mean, that's just part and parcel. But there's good stress and bad stress. There's the bad stress from bad management. There's good stress from good managers pushing people to be better, to do better.
But that's a really good analogy. And when you started, I thought, oh, this is going off on a tangent, but it's actually relevant because, so if you have all these component parts, which are shareholders, staff, owners, customers, suppliers, so let's say there's 5 parts in this microeconomy.
And
organic
microbiome.
Yep. Let's say there's 5 parts.
Yep.
If every part appreciates the other part equally and respects and really values the other part, then that's the perfect economy, right?
It is.
And so, if a boss values the staff, great. If the staff values the customers, fantastic. If the customers value the staff, great.
Exactly.
And so on. But there's one part that's very uncommon, and I'm speaking as a boss, and that is for the staff to value the boss.
Oh, yes.
Or the owners, or the board of directors.
Yep.
That's uncommon. And I've got a client, a friend, who's been super successful. 38 particular types of business, plus 4 hotels, plus a property development company, just boomed. And this is about staff appreciating the boss or the owners. And every year, or at least once a year, they have a retreat and they go away, often to Bunya Mountains here in Queensland, or
that's the alert we've been talking for too long.
That's the boring alarm. It's getting boring, Bruce. Stop talking. And they have a retreat. And once, every now and then, this is sound crazy, the staff all write what they like about the company or the boss, the owners.
Yep.
And then they have to stand up and say it.
Oh.
And it's actually quite positive. So, but if everything equally is working like that, that's a great economy.
And you know why he's got that? And I don't know this individual, but I would sort of theorize, hypothesize, probably one of the reasons is because he's bought them on the journey. People have bought into the vision of not just him, but the vision of the organization, the vision of, okay, we're in it together. We're here for a hospital. We're here for the patients. We want to be the best at whatever.
They have equity.
Yeah, that's it. And equity doesn't necessarily mean equity stake in terms of shareholding, but they bought into the concept of the business. They bring themselves.
That's right.
And when people do that, not only does it have a resounding effect on what they do internally and externally so customers feel it, but what ends up happening, and if we look at today's world with technology moving faster and faster, they'll end up coming to the table and saying, Bruce, and they'll say this with confidence, Bruce, I've got a really cool idea. I've seen someone do this over here. Why don't we give that a go?
Exactly right.
All of a sudden, your business thrives and innovates because of it. It's the people that matter in every business, whether it's your suppliers, your staff, your customers, it's the people. People first.
So when you talk about the hospital making the infection area the most important thing, it's still a team.
It's always a team.
The doctors, the nurses, everybody has to make that the priority, right?
Absolutely. That CSSD department, the external person might look at it and go, well, all they do is clean instruments. Well, actually there's a lot more that goes on. The amount of coordination that goes on between, the cleaning department, the surgical department, the surgeon, the companies that provide the equipment. There's so many elements. And if you think about it, if there's a delay in getting some of these equipment ready for the day ahead for the schedule, all of a sudden you might have 4, 5, 6, 10 patients affected who are about to have an operation, for example. Everyone, it just has this flow-on effect on everyone else. And same thing in a business, where I've seen this firsthand, where the business owner comes to us and says, I don't understand what's wrong in my business. And when we analyze it, it actually turns out that there's nothing wrong with the business other than there's 1 or 2 rotten apples who are doing the wrong things, causing issues culturally, and then as a result, impacting the customer experience. And as a result, customers are not coming back because they're like, well, I don't want to come back there because that person's just rude. Even though the 99% of the business might be fantastic, the receptionist was rude. And so you lose the customer.
So it is a circular economy. It's all dependent on one another. And the receptionist isn't going to be rude if the boss appreciates her and the staff are nice.
Correct. So there's always reasons why.
Yeah.
So you always need to dig deep.
So we want to round this up today by saying to business owners, just challenging them, who's the most important component or person or part of your business? And do you pay yourself last, or do you see yourself as most important? And maybe thinking about that will help change the culture. By the way, one of the things I hate about public companies is the board usually pay themselves a fee regardless of profit. Their fee should be contingent upon profit.
Absolutely.
A result of the profit. No profit, no money.
And it should be a spectrum depending on how much profit and how you perform.
Exactly.
But I think it's going to be, and this would be a discussion for another day, but then you got to go, okay, well, is it really the profit only that we're going to be measuring on? What are the other metrics, sustainability, et cetera, et cetera? Probably one thing that I guess in terms of wrapping it up, and there's this little analogy that I was just thinking that we could leave you with. Imagine you're in the African savannah. Okay, and we think about, okay, who dominates the African savannah? You're probably thinking lion king, lion's important,
survival of the fittest.
That's it, such a boss.
Yeah.
But have a think about this. What consideration have you given in that thought to the little dung beetle that is going around picking up and collecting the poo and rolling it up into a ball? The reason I say that is because when the dung beetle does that, what it does is it transforms the poo from poo into a nutrient food, into a nutrient-dense food for its offspring, which as a result fertilizes the savanna. As a result, the plants, the grass can grow, the antelopes can eat, and the lions can hunt.
Yep.
Now, if you don't have your dung beetles doing their job, you're going to be up the creek because all of a sudden the nutrients aren't going to be as available.
Exactly.
So this is how we're going to be thinking about our body, our businesses, society as a whole. We shouldn't be denigrating people. We shouldn't be putting people into positions. We should all be thinking about how do we work collectively for collective good.
Exactly. I mean, I've always wondered why the guy emptying the garbage bins and putting his hand down block sewers doesn't get paid as much as a lawyer or an accountant. Anyway, that's a whole other story for another day.
Absolutely.
But we are all pretty much equal in the whole chain, and we need to respect and appreciate each other. And when we do that, things start to turn much better.
So the answer to the question of who's the boss, we all are.
Yeah.
At some stage or another, we're all the boss.
In my house, we're all equal. We're all the boss, except when I say have to say.
Agreed.
I still have to ask my wife if I can buy a motorbike.
Maybe. Just randomly.
So maybe she's the boss. All right. Well, that was valuable to everyone today. And thanks again, Pete.